My friend tried to meet up with my husband, igniting a wild conspiracy. She claimed it was just a casual meetup, but when I saw the messages, everything changed. Imagine discovering your best friend's secret plan to meet your husband, only that's not even the craziest part. What if their meeting wasn't just about a friendly chat? You won't believe the shocking truth behind their innocent get-together. Stay with me, because I'm about to show you how one conversation turned into a tangled web of lies, betrayal, and the wildest conspiracy I could have ever imagined.
Hey, story lover. Welcome to the Narrative Hub, Reddit Stories. Believe me, this adventure gets wild, but it's only epic with you. Seriously, you make this possible. Want more stories? Greater adventure? Smash subscribe right now. Smash like. Comment below. Let's go.
My world didn't just crack that night, it imploded. It was a Tuesday, mundane, we just finished dinner, a stir-fry my husband, James, had been perfecting. I was scrolling on the couch, half watching some reality show, and he was in the shower. His phone, which is usually glued to his hand, was sitting on the coffee table. It buzzed. Then it buzzed again. Normally, I wouldn't even look. Privacy, trust, all that. But the name that lit up the screen made my blood run cold. Kimberly, my Kimberly. My ride or die since college. The godmother to a dog we no longer have. The keeper of secrets I'd forgotten I'd even told. The first message was innocent enough. Hey, you free to talk tomorrow? But the second one, the one that came right after, that one landed like a punch to the gut. Don't tell Jennifer, it's important. Don't tell me. My mind raced through 1,000 scenarios, each one worse than the last. An affair was the obvious, ugly answer. The classic, heartbreaking story you hear about but never think will be yours. I felt a wave of nausea, the kind that starts in your toes and works its way up. But even then, some small, naive part of my brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe she was planning a surprise party for me. Maybe James was in some kind of trouble and she was trying to help. The excuses felt flimsy, pathetic, even to me. I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely unlock it. James and I share everything, including passcodes. A habit born of convenience that suddenly felt like a weapon I was turning against him. I opened their message thread, my heart hammering against my ribs. And what I saw, it wasn't some long, torrid history of secret love. It was worse. It was weird, clinical. There were messages from weeks ago. Did the quarterly reports get approved? And one from her, make sure the acquisition budget for the Nelson project is finalized by Friday. A lot is riding on it. What in the world? Kimberly is an art curator. She knows more about 17th century pottery than she does about corporate acquisitions. James is a project manager at a major tech firm. Their professional worlds were on different planets, yet here she was talking like his boss. It made no sense. This wasn't a romance. It was something else, something colder, more calculated. And that scared me more than any cheap affair ever could. My gut was screaming that this was just the tip of a very, very big iceberg. And you know what? I was about to find out just how deep and dark the water below really was. So what do? Do you confront him the second he steps out of the shower, wrapped in a towel and steam, and blow up your entire life on a suspicion? Or do you play dumb? Do you gather your evidence piece by piece until you have a case so airtight that no lie can escape? I chose option 2. I put the phone back on the table, face down, exactly as I'd found it. The sound of the shower stopped. When James walked out, I smiled. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. It felt like my face was going to crack. The next morning, I called Kimberly. I kept my voice light, breezy. Hey, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. Want to grab lunch this week? There was a pause, just a fraction of a second too long. Oh, hey, Jen. I'm actually swamped this week. Completely buried. Maybe next week. Oh, that's too bad, I said, the words tasting like acid. James mentioned you two were trying to connect too, said you had something important to discuss. I let that hang in the air, a little bait. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Then, a nervous laugh. Oh, that. No, it's silly. It's about his birthday. I wanted to get your whole friend group together to chip in for that ridiculous watch he wants. I just wanted it to be a surprise. It was a perfect lie, plausible, thoughtful even. A year ago, I would have gushed with gratitude. But I knew she was lying. I knew it in my bones, because James's birthday was 6 months away. This wasn't a mistake, it was a strategy. She was testing the waters, covering her tracks. And the fact that she had a prepackaged, perfect lie ready to go told me one thing: this wasn't her first time lying about this. She was practiced. She was prepared. This confirmed it. This was a game of chess, and I had just realized I was a player, not a spectator. But I had a serious disadvantage. I didn't even know what we were playing for. I thought she was after my husband. But the truth was so much bigger. She wasn't trying to steal a man. She was trying to orchestrate a hostile takeover of my entire life. And I had the receipts that were about to burn her whole plan to the ground. That lie about the birthday present, it was the spark that lit the fuse. I went from grieving wife to investigator in the span of a single phone call. I started digging, not just for clues, but for a pattern. I became an archaeologist of my own friendship, brushing away years of trust to see the bones of what lay beneath. I started with our shared memories. For years, I'd cried on her shoulder about everything. The little stresses, the big fights. The pressure James was under at work with the massive Project Phoenix he was leading. I had told her how his entire career was riding on it, how it was a billion-dollar deal for his company. I had shared my anxieties, my fears, my husband's vulnerabilities. And as I played back those conversations in my head, a chilling realization washed over me. She wasn't just listening. She was taking notes. She wasn't my confidant. She was a corporate spy, and I was her unwitting informant. Every secret I had shared was now a potential weapon being used against me, against James. My next step was digital. It's amazing what you can find when you know what you're looking for. I wasn't proud of it, but I did a deep dive. Not on James's phone anymore, that was too risky. I started with her. I noticed she had 2 social media profiles. One was the public one, full of art exhibits and brunch photos with our friends. The other was a private account, locked down tight. The profile picture was a generic flower. The name, something bland. But the friend list, it had only a few dozen people. And one of them was a man named Stephen Taylor. The name sounded familiar. I searched James's work contacts. There it was, Stephen Taylor, vice president at Northgate Industries, the biggest rival to James's company, the same company that was bidding against them for Project Phoenix. My blood turned to ice. This wasn't about cheating. This was corporate espionage. Kimberly, the art curator, was somehow feeding information to the competition. But why? For money? For revenge? And how did she turn from my best friend into a character in a spy thriller? I felt like I was losing my mind, like the floor was falling away beneath me. This conspiracy wasn't just wild, it was personal. She was using our friendship, my trust, as a key to unlock my husband's professional ruin. I had to know for sure. I had to see it with my own eyes, so I decided to give her exactly what she wanted. I set a trap, and I was going to use my husband as the bait. This was the moment I realized the game had changed. If she wanted to play dirty, then I was about to show her just how much grit I had. I wasn't just going to expose her. I was going to dismantle her. And you won't believe the lengths she was willing to go to, or who else she dragged down with her. Setting the trap was one of the scariest things I've ever done. I had to bring James in on it. I sat him down that night and laid out everything I had found. The texts, the lie about his birthday, the secret profile, the connection to Stephen Taylor at Northgate Industries. At first, he looked at me like I was crazy. He defended her. Kimberly, no, there's no way. You're misreading this, Jen. She's your best friend. Denial stung. It felt like a betrayal all over again, but I held my ground. I pulled up the evidence on my laptop, the digital breadcrumbs linking his biggest career project to my best friend's secret life. I watched his face shift from disbelief to confusion, and then to a slow, dawning horror. He finally saw it. The pieces clicked into place. The strange, probing questions she'd been asking him at parties for months. The chance encounters near his office building. It had all been reconnaissance. "What do you want to do?" he asked, his voice low. "I want her to think she's won," I said. "I want you to agree to meet her. Tomorrow, that coffee shop on 5th Street she mentioned in her text. You're going to go, you're going to listen, and you're going to find out exactly what her endgame is." He was hesitant, but he agreed. The plan was simple. He would wear a wire, a tiny microphone I bought online that could transmit to my phone. I would be parked across the street, listening to every single word. I thought I was prepared for what I might hear. A confession, a plea, an offer of money for information. I was not prepared for the truth. The sheer, cold-blooded audacity of her plan was something I couldn't have imagined in my wildest nightmares. And the most shocking part, she wasn't working alone. The next day, my heart felt like it was going to beat out of my chest. I sat in my car, parked across from the Daily Grind, a place where Kimberly and I had shared dozens of coffees and secrets. The irony was sickening. I watched James walk in looking tense but determined. He sat at a small table. A few minutes later, she arrived. She looked normal, smiling, chic, my best friend. She slid into the booth opposite him. I put my phone to my ear, the static from the microphone crackling to life. "Thanks for coming, James." Kimberly's voice was smooth as silk through my earpiece. "Your text sounded urgent," James replied, his voice steady. He was a good actor. "It is," she said, her tone dropping. "Listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm worried about Jennifer." I flinched. She was using my name, using me. "What do you mean?" James asked. "She's not happy, James. The stress you're under with Project Phoenix, it's killing her. She told me she feels like she's losing you to your work. She's breaking down." It was a master class in manipulation, twisting my genuine concerns, words I had spoken to her in confidence, into a weapon to drive a wedge between my husband and me. "I don't understand what this has to do with you," James said, his voice hard. "Because I can help," she whispered. "A friend of mine, Stephen Taylor over at Northgate, he told me they know you're going to win the bid. They're prepared to lose. But they are willing to make a very generous offer for you to come work for them after the project is secured. A golden parachute. Less stress, more money, more time for Jennifer. But for the offer to stand, they need to see some preliminary data, just to verify the project's viability, a gesture of goodwill." There it was, the hook, the play. It wasn't just sabotage. It was a recruitment. They wanted to destroy his company's biggest project and poach their star player in one move, using proprietary data he would supply as his entry ticket. She was asking him to commit corporate suicide and treason. But then came the twist that nearly made me drop my phone. "Who else knows about this?" James asked. And then she said the name of another one of our friends. "Lisa knows. She's the one who put me in touch with Stephen. Her cousin works at Northgate. She agrees, James. We all just want what's best for you and for Jennifer." Lisa, sweet, dependable Lisa Johnson. The one I'd called just yesterday for advice. Her evasiveness on the phone suddenly made horrifying sense. This wasn't just Kimberly. It was a mutiny, a conspiracy woven into the very fabric of my friend group. My whole world tilted on its axis. My friend didn't just want my man. She had recruited our friends to help her dismantle my life. The betrayal was so complete, so profound, I couldn't even breathe. And right then, I knew what I had to do. This wasn't just about saving James's job anymore. This was about taking back my life from the people I trusted most. I didn't storm in. I didn't scream. I just sat there in my car, listening to my husband expertly shut her down, telling her he would never betray his company or his wife. I listened to her desperate backpedaling, the charm turning to frantic pressure. I recorded every single second of it. When James walked out of that coffee shop and got into my car, he didn't say a word. He just looked at me, his face pale with shock. We both knew our lives had been irrevocably altered. But this story doesn't end with us driving off into the sunset, wounded but together. Because I wasn't going to let them get away with it. They had underestimated me. They saw me as the emotional, trusting wife they could easily manipulate. They didn't realize that when you corner someone, you don't always find a victim. Sometimes, you find a predator. That evening, I did two things. First, James and I took the recording, along with all the evidence of the secret accounts and the connection to Stephen Taylor, directly to the CEO of his company, a man named Mr. Thompson. We played him the tape. We showed him everything. We laid out the entire conspiracy of corporate espionage orchestrated by a rival company, using my best friend as their asset. The look on that man's face went from skepticism to fury in about 30 seconds. He assured us they would handle Northgate Industries. Heads, he promised, would roll. The second thing I did was more personal. I set up a group chat. I invited Kimberly. I invited Lisa. I invited every single woman from our friend group. And then I sent one thing into the chat, the audio file of the conversation from the coffee shop. I didn't add any text. I just sent the file. My phone started blowing up almost immediately. First came the confusion, then the shock, Then the frantic, pleading private messages from Lisa. Jennifer, you don't understand. It wasn't like that. She manipulated me. But the most telling response was from Kimberly. Absolute, dead silence. She knew she was caught. There was no lie big enough to cover this. She didn't just lose my friendship. I watched as her entire social world, the one she had curated so perfectly, publicly disowned her in real time. The betrayal was so brazen, so complete, that no one wanted to be associated with her. She was an outcast. Her name was poison. The fallout was nuclear. Stephen Taylor was fired from Northgate, and the company is now facing a massive lawsuit from James's firm. James not only secured Project Phoenix, but he was promoted for his loyalty and integrity. As for Lisa, I've never spoken to her again. The wound is too deep. A friendship built on lies is no friendship at all. And Kimberly, I heard she moved out of the city. I don't know where she went, and I don't care. She tried to orchestrate a hostile takeover of my life, using my deepest vulnerabilities as her ammunition. She saw my marriage, my husband's career, and my friendships as assets to be liquidated for her own gain. She didn't just want my man. She wanted my life. And the most terrifying part, for a moment there, she almost got it. But she made one critical mistake. She forgot who she was dealing with. She tried to burn my world down, but all she did was show me that I am fireproof.